Overnight, the global picture is being shaped by escalating conflict in the Middle East, rising energy risk, and a parallel information war increasingly powered by artificial intelligence. In the Gulf, markets are bracing for further disruption as the conflict involving Iran deepens. The Financial Times reports investors have pared back expectations of U.S. interest rate cuts this year as higher energy prices threaten to reignite inflation. The same coverage warns that any prolonged threat to shipping through the Strait of Hormuz would hit not just oil, but also gas and key inputs like fertilizers, amplifying global price pressures. The FT also reports Iran has vowed retaliation against Gulf energy sites after strikes hit the South Pars gas field, a critical pillar of Iran's domestic energy supply. Politically in the U.S., the FT describes widening divisions inside the MAGA movement over the rationale and costs of the conflict, adding uncertainty to the policy outlook. On the ground, the BBC and the Sydney Morning Herald report Israel has killed Iran's intelligence minister, Esmail Khatib, with Iran's president confirming the death. The BBC also reports on the impact of Iranian cluster munitions in Israel, underscoring the risk of further civilian casualties and escalation. Separately, the UN Human Rights Office, the SBS, says Israeli strikes on Lebanese civilians sheltering in tents may constitute war crimes and is calling for investigation. Alongside kinetic conflict, SBS reports a second war is being fought through social media feeds, with AI-generated fakes and manipulated content shaping perceptions of the Middle East conflict. The practical takeaway for governments and platforms is that the technological revolution in generative AI is now a frontline issue for public trust, not just a tech policy debate. In regional security and governance, ABC reports 4 Indonesian military officers have been arrested over an acid attack on human rights activist Andri Yunus in Jakarta. ABC and Al Jazeera also report Iran's women's football team has returned to Iran, including several players and staff who initially accepted Australia's offer of asylum, but later withdrew. Turning to Australia, cost of living and energy security are back at the center of economic policy. SBS reports the 90-day question over fuel price pain, with global oil disruption refocusing attention on Australia's fuel security. The Conversation reports Treasurer Jim Chalmers citing Treasury modeling that inflation could reach 5%, with National Cabinet meeting on fuel. The Conversation also notes that inflation expectations themselves can influence the Reserve Bank's next move, making public confidence and price-setting behavior a key watchpoint. On fiscal policy, the Sydney Morning Herald reports Chalmers is positioning the May 12 budget as a reform budget, with 3 major reform packages flagged. For the Australian Public Service, the immediate implication is delivery. Reform packages typically translate into new program design, compliance settings, and implementation timelines that will test agency capacity. In domestic regulation and enforcement, ABC reports tougher tobacco laws are coming as the illegal vape market booms, including expanded surveillance powers and stronger penalties. The SMH reports the government is also openly questioning whether tobacconists should exist in their current form, signaling a harder line on illicit tobacco and proceeds of crime approaches. On household wealth and the Australian economy, ABC reports domain data showing record property resale profits have boosted homeowner wealth despite rising rates, but the gains are widening the gap between established owners and aspiring first home buyers, reinforcing intergenerational and distributional pressures. For local and immediate risk, SBS reports Tropical Cyclone Narelle is expected to cross the far north Queensland coast as a Category 4 system between Cooktown and Lockhart River early Thursday, with preparations and warnings likely to intensify today. Finally, on health and evidence, ABC reports experts caution there is still limited evidence that psychedelics and cannabis effectively treat depression despite growing hype, a reminder that policy and clinical uptake are moving faster than the data in some areas.